I think out of all the movies or shows that I've talked about on here, Invincible has by far been the most requested thing. As someone who watches a lot of movies and shows, it's always very fun when something popular comes along which everyone's talking about, and I think Invincible fits into that category. I remember going to the gym last year and overhearing two people randomly just talking about a conquest. It's also been a long time since I talked about the show in depth. I think that around last March was the last time I watched an episode, so it's good to look back. It's a great show in and of itself, and I honestly think one of the reasons why it's become so popular in recent years is the fact that it comes out on a consistent release schedule. Most of the shows nowadays take a while to put out seasons, usually like 2 years at the earliest, so it's nice to have a show that comes out every single year at the same time, while maintaining the same quality. This show has honestly become one of my new springtime traditions. For the few of you who aren't familiar with the show, Invincible is based pretty directly on this giant superhero comic. It's inspired a bit by Marvel and DC, but it isn't a parody like The Boys. It's its own unique, complete, and original story. It follows the story of Mark Grayson, the child of one of the most powerful superheroes who has been tasked with protecting Earth from a variety of threats. These range from smaller, week-by-week conflicts to alien invaders and interdimensional forces. The show kind of reminds me a lot of today's version of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar is obviously one of the greatest pieces of media ever made and deserves a video in itself, but I think in terms of the general vibe, pacing, and characters, Invincible does remind me of a lot of things that made that show special. I also think it sprinkles in some elements from Man of Steel, especially with the Viltrum stuff and fights. I've seen a lot of people compare the show to The Boys as well, which is Amazon's other major show, so I thought I'd talk about it. I do really like The Boys, but I think I have slowly grown to prefer Invincible over the years. While Invincible is still very violent, it's not trying to be overly edgy like The Boys does sometimes, and I think that Genevieve kind of diluted some of the hype for me. It's an okay show from what I've seen, but I think it really kills the pacing of The Boys, and doesn't justify its existence and has all the flaws from the original show without any of the real heart or commentary. Also, part of the key satirical message is making fun of studios coming out with endless spin-offs and content, and then Amazon decides to do the exact same thing. Right now we're about to watch the series finale of The Boys, and yet I'm still slightly more excited for season 4 of Invincible. Speaking of pacing, I think this is something the show actually does decently well and works to its advantage. Invincible is a super long story to adapt and split up into arcs. Season 1 was the Omni-Man arc, Season 2 was the Angstrom-Levy arc, and Season 3 was the Invincible War arc. And in between they have major moments that influence the larger overarching story, like Conquest, the Prison Break, and Anissa. Between all of this, they typically have little mini filler stories, which aren't bad, especially for such a long-running show. It's crazy to think that Season 4, we would have only reached the halfway point of this story. I think the goal is to have around 7 or 8 seasons of Invincible, meaning we'll be watching until like 2029 to 2030. And I will say I have heard there's some crazy stuff coming up in these later seasons, so I'm really looking forward to it. For Season 4, I know they're primarily focusing on the Viltrumite War, which I'm excited to see come back into the main focus of the show. I'm also glad that this arc is being stretched out over what looks like the course of the season. I thought the Invincible War was very well done, but I kind of would have preferred if they split it up into 2 episodes because honestly so much happened in such a short amount of time. I'm not fully sure yet, but I have a feeling this quote from Omni-Man is going to play a big role this season, so I'm just putting it here to remind everyone.
There are fewer than 50 pure-blooded Viltrumites left in the universe. This is the Empire's most closely guarded secret. It's also why we can beat them.
I also know they're trying to do an original story involving Darkblood, which they haven't done yet, so I'm curious to see where that goes. I'm also very curious to see Thrag, who's the overall villain of the show. I'm glad they got Lee Pace to voice him since he's a great actor with a very intimidating presence. Overall, this show probably has one of the most stacked casts out of any show on television right now. However, people have complained that having all these star actors on the show has led to budget decreases for the animation. In my opinion, I think it's less about the budget and more about the time frame. Spider-Verse also had a relatively smaller budget compared to other films, but they took like 5 years in time between movies. In my opinion, the animation in Invincible looks good when it needs to for the important moments and is serviceable during the smaller episodes. I'd rather they just keep the momentum and pacing with going with the yearly releases than take years of time to put out episodes with slightly better animation. As for my complaints with the show, again, I don't really have that many. I will say seeing some of the filler could be cut down and some of the heavy arcs could be stretched out. I think obviously the Invincible War, like I said, could have been 2 episodes instead of just 1, and maybe taking out some of the other episodes from season 3. Like, I don't think we really need the multi-Paul episode that badly. I think as we get further and further into the show and this content starts building up, this won't be too much of a problem. And again, I think the animation is just fine. I think people are kind of overreacting. That's all I have to say for now. My next video will probably either be the Attack on Titan review once I finish that show finally, since I really do have a lot to say about it, or another quick Invincible video reviewing Season 4 once that finishes in April. Again, leave me comments or DMs and if you guys want me to talk about something else on here and I'll try and get to it. I've been keeping a list of things you guys have asked about, so if anything on here interests you, then let me know.